Welcome to Superhuman Customs. I'm Steven Human. This channel we just customize action figures, try and do cool stuff, all sort of hand sculpted, and sometimes they turn out great, sometimes they turn out like garbage, but we're always learning and we're having fun because this is an art form, and you know, if you're not having fun, then don't do it. Well, the last few weeks I've done a couple of really fun things for me. The He-Man, the Skeletor, the Wonder Woman, all of which ended up looking like they were designed by Frank Frazetta. And I've actually put them on a shelf with some Frank Frazetta art behind them on these little cards from when I worked with Quimbleys, and they look really cool. So I've been like, well, what other sort of figure can I do? And I've come up with this guy. So we got a Witcher head, a Henry Cavill, angry Witcher head with a Hawkman body, no wings, and we're gonna make him Lion-O from the Thundercats. So obviously with He-Man, I'm a kid of the 80s and I loved Thundercats. And so we are gonna take this guy and we're gonna make him like a Frank Frazetta version of the Thundercats, of Lion-O. And if he turns out great, we're gonna put him on the shelf with those guys, with the Frank Frazetta art. I'm super excited. We're gonna add some hair. I'm gonna see if I can do some fur sort of stuff. We're just gonna go kind of nuts and have fun with this guy. So without further ado, let's make some Lion-O. First things first, Lion-O has big hair. So we're gonna cut off a section here of our Thor hair that we've been using for extra hair for the past few months. And I'm gonna get it so that it goes on right in here somehow. Now normally the point in Lion-O's hair comes out this side, but the figure naturally has, like, the wind is kind of blowing from here, so this side of the head is flatter and this has more. So we're gonna do it the opposite. It doesn't need to be the same. And we're just gonna find a good way to give him a nice mane of hair. What I'm gonna do with the arms and the legs is I'm gonna take some fabric paint. We're gonna put some like fur on. Not quite sure how it's gonna work. I was thinking about doing with Milliput, but I honestly haven't had a chance to go get more Milliput. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut off these raised areas here. And we're just gonna try and get it so that once, here in a second, we're able to just add what looks like fur. And I want it to be not too crazy, but I do want it to look like he's a cat, right? And he's got fur. So these will have some kind of impact on that for sure. So I just want to get them down, make it so that it's a little bit more uniform. And there we go. For those of you who've been watching the channel for a long time, you know that I'm a big fan of fabric paint. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through and make little lines like this. Now the fabric paint always ends up getting less pronounced than when you put it on. What I really want is I just want the texture. And so this will come out. They'll flatten out a little bit. It won't be quite so pointed. But when it's dry, it will give it a texture. And then what we'll do is when we paint, because he's kind of orange, we'll do a brown first, and then we'll do a yellow, an orange, and then a yellow. And this way, he will have more of a furry texture. And I'm probably gonna do 2 coats. So what I mean by that is that I'm gonna put these on, and then once they dry in about 4 or 5 hours, well, these should dry fairly quickly, they're small, but probably not tonight when I'm working on this. I'll go back and I'll do another layer in here to just add more. So that's how we're gonna do it. Legs and arms, give this guy a nice furry texture. Now the thing about Lion-O is that on his left hand, he has like a big paw, right? So he's got this really cool thing already here that sets it apart. But what I want to do is trade out hands. So I think I'm going to go with this robotic Batman hand from the Armored Batman, because it's way bigger than his regular hand. But I could go really big and I could use this 10-inch hand, but I think that would look too big. So I'm going to pull this hand off. And I think we'll go with this one and give it like he's got a robot hand or like a robot glove on. And I think that'll serve us. And if not, we'll go giant. After pulling the hand off, I was going through my stuff and I found this from a Ninja Turtle figure. And I think actually that will look cooler because it'll be like, because it's something that goes over his hand as opposed to having a big hand. So if I paint this, I think orange, and I do it light enough so that you can see the silver through, I think that'll look kind of cool given that, Frank Frazetta techno fantasy look. So I think that's what I'm going to go with instead. Now that we have everything figured out and everything is dry, what we're gonna do is we're gonna paint his hair red. Now Lionel has like a mane, right? And it's kind of a reddish orange. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the red, and then we'll do like a dry brush orange over the top and add the highlights. And then what we're gonna do for the rest, like for the arms and the legs, is that we're gonna go brown. We're gonna paint that brown as a base and then do the orange over the top, because the hair has more of a reddish orange and the body is just a straight like pale orange. So I'm just gonna go through here and paint him up with just a nice Vallejo red. You can see back here, right here. I get a lot of questions in my videos about the paints I use. Mostly I use Vallejo, especially for stuff like this. I have some craft paints that I use for small things because they're so cheap. And most of the time I've learned that I need to water them down a little bit in order to really make them work. And then once I water them down, they work pretty well. So, but Vallejo is the way to go if you have access to Vallejo. I get them at a hobby shop. Sometimes I can find them at the Hobby Lobby locally too. So just look at a hobby shop and you should be able to find some good Vallejo paints. For the arms and legs, I'm going with a light brown. A beastly brown is what this is called. Or no, it's leather brown. Yeah, leather brown is what I'm going with. Beastly brown is slightly darker. Because since he has a nice light orange base, I figured a light brown before we do the orange would be the way to go. So that's what I'm gonna do here on the arms and on the legs, is use this leather brown, get him a nice coat, and then we'll move on to whatever color I wanna do next. Now I'm gonna take the orange, and as you can see, the orange is very liquidy. And so it's gonna give us a nice look to start out with. And then if we wanna do more, we can. That's the thing about yellows and oranges, is that they tend to be more liquid. And so you just gotta use them a little bit differently. And in this case, it's gonna give us a look that we want, because I want it to play off the brown for right now and allow us to do a couple of different coats to really make things look cool. Now you can see here I didn't brown up the face, because I want the face to have a slightly different tone than everything else. Like on the original toy, the face is a little bit lighter tone, and then it's got some, like down in here, it's got some like bone white accents, like almost like a 5 o'clock shadow. So I wanted it to look a little bit different. So I'm just gonna go over with this color, and I'm going over with a thick brush right now to get to the coverage, because this is the one I'm already using. This will be my last part. And then I'll go through with the detail brush and get it. But you can see how, like, look at the legs, looking good. This lino is gonna look awesome. So while I got the orange out, I'm just gonna do some dry brush on the hair. I want this hair to have more of a texture than just the red, because it would. So I'm just getting a little bit on, and I'm gonna go in layers. So right now it's hard to see, but we'll build it up. And this will really go a long way toward making him look real. And then we'll move on to the blue here on the chest. So I want you to see a normal, like old school lion or figure. And what I'm doing here on this one to match is I've taken some flesh tone that's been very watered down, and I'm just kind of going over the same areas of the face. So it'll look kind of like 5 o'clock shadow, which is what you want. And then I'm gonna have to hold it to get the eyes, but I wanted you to see what it looks like once you kind of get it, so that it'll have the lion look. Before I move on to the blue, I want to add some texturing here to the legs. And I'm going to go through with my brown wash, but just really light. I've kind of mixed it around in the bowl over here, just so I don't get very much on the brush. And I want to just add just enough to darken some areas, because I'm going to go through now after this with a dry brush of some bone white, or maybe some flesh tone, probably the flesh tone that I used up on the face. And that will allow me to just kind of add some nice textures here, and then I'll move on to the blue. Because when I'm dry brushing, I might hit some of those areas, and I would rather just paint the blue. The blue's gonna be far less, of a lift. There's not gonna be as much there to it. I mean, there will be at the end, but yeah, I'd rather get this looking really good before we move on to that. So it's nice and subtle, but I like subtle. Let's go ahead and move into our dry brush with this flesh tone. I just want to hit these raised areas. And it's going to take a little bit of time, but it should give the look that I want. So there we go. And somebody started playing music, so I'm going to have to stop filming. Such is life in the human household. What we're missing right now is the hair just needs a little bit more of a texture. So I'm going to put some brown in some spaces, just some brown wash. And I'm just going to try and do a line here and there just to add a little bit of contrast in here. And that'll help to just differentiate some shades. And then I'm going to do a little bit in the arms and legs, just like some lines like this, just to give it, you know, I want it to look like fur. I mean, it's looking pretty good, but I really want him to pop. I want him to match the He-Man and the Skeletor so that he can look great next to them on the shelf. Pulling out that lino was really helpful because I saw that the claw is actually gold, which works way better for this. So I can do a layer of gold on here and then add, like, make these things red, because that's how, you know, he's got like these red jewels on it. This will look like a really cool, just techno version of his, like, King Claw or whatever it was they called it. It's been a long time since I've seen Thundercats, I'm not gonna lie. All I remember is I watched it in high school after I'd seen it as a kid, and I was shocked at how cheesy it was and how Lion-O's voice was like this. I'm Lion-O. And I was like, that's a bit much. So those were my most recent memories of the Thundercats. He's looking pretty good on the legs and stuff. It's obviously very, very different doing the textures and things. So I might, once we get this part done, I'll take a look and see if I need to add any, you know, any more dry brushing or anything to kind of tone things down. But for now, it's looking pretty good. So we're moving on to the body. Now, the body on the original Lino is made up of 3 colors. It's got a light blue, a dark blue, and silver. That's it. So that's what we're gonna do, is we're gonna do the base as the light blue. We're gonna do the stuff in here as I mean, I could keep it a leather. Well, we'll see once this is done, whether I wanna keep it leather, or if I wanna do it a dark blue. And there'll be areas in here where I'll do as a dark blue to make them stand out, and then I'll do some silver. So we'll just kind of play around. Obviously, once this is, the blue is as a base, then we can see what we think is gonna look the best for what's gonna be dark blue and what's gonna be silver. So I'm just gonna go through, get this thing all blued up, and then we'll go from there. Let's go ahead and move on to the dark blue. Basically, it's just the boots and like the belt is really what the dark blue is. So I'll use that, get this on here. I'm thinking we'll do a metallic over the top of everything. See how that comes out. I think he's gonna look, I mean, he's already looking really great. I'm trying to figure out, I mean, because the texture on the legs and everything, I'm worried it's looking too blotchy and not like hair enough, like thin enough strokes. I'm not sure if I can get that, you know, like make it look like hair. I'll experiment. I mean, but he's still looking pretty cool. Just think it would be cooler if I could get some thinner strokes here in the legs. I'm just having a hard time getting it so that they're not blotchy, but it's hard because he's already, you know, 7 inches. And I'm trying to use like the thinner brushes. I'll see, I'm gonna play around. Before we do the silver highlights, I'm gonna go through and add some metallic blue to all of this to really make it so that it's got that look of armor, because this does have like the plates and stuff. And then when we do the silver, we'll also add some nicks and dings in here. It's got some cracks and stuff that are cool details. And so this will add a nice layer to everything. And we're gonna do both the dark blue and the light blue. They'll come across as different shades still, because this is a, you know, it's a metallic paint, so it's very thin. And when you put it on nice and thin, it gives it, you know, the metallic that you want. So that's what we're gonna do. Go back over all of this and make them shiny. Now, before I do any more details, I wanna go through and I wanna add some wash here to the cracks and stuff. They're not really cracks, but he's got some cracks. But the sort of details in here in between his his armor, the seams here. And so I'm going through just with my standard wash, and I'm taking a little bit, dabbing it into where I keep my paint so that it's not too much, and going through. And obviously I'll do a little bit of dry brush over the top with some of the metallic in order to tone it down. But this will give us some nice texturing, because he's got some cracks and things in here where he's been hit by arrows or whatever. So I'll do that. That'll start to really add some definition here. Now that I've got the wash tone down, I'm going to go through a little bit of silver, and I'm just going to move it around to make this look more like armor so that it's been dinged. I'm going to do a nice light little bit of dry brushing here. Because I've done this, I did this with Skeletor and with some of the other armored characters, and it really did turn out just beautiful. So it makes it look like it's got that silver overlay, and then I can hit some details and ding it up a little bit. But this always goes a long way toward making things look just a little bit more metal. And then while I got this out, I can go through and I can start hitting details. Start silvering up all of this gold, like right now. I can just go through, because it's okay if it has a tint of gold to it, but I really want it to be more silver than anything. Going through with my Vallejo silver, which is a lighter silver, and I'm going to hit some of these edges and details and stuff, because it's going to make things stand out a little bit. I'm also going to go through here on the belt, which is a little bit low in the shot, but I'm going to go through and hit the edges really nicely with this. And I am not going to lie, our air conditioner broke 2 days ago, and we had the guy come today to fix it, and he's like, it's not a problem with your AC, it's a problem with the electrical going to the AC. So now we've had to call an electrician who can't come until tomorrow. So it is really hot. It's like 85 degrees in my house right now. So yeah, trying to keep a stiff upper lip, but it's hot. I don't often show when I'm going through and doing touch-up stuff, because I think you guys will think it's boring, but occasionally I know that I should show it. I'm just going through and crisping up some of these areas. I checked the thermostat, and it's dropped in the last 20 minutes by a whole degree. It's now 84 degrees inside my house. And it is having an effect on the paint, particularly the silver paint. It was drying out super fast. The blue doesn't seem to be having the same problem, but yeah, painting in extreme heat is not the funnest thing, but it certainly beats, doing nothing and just complaining about it. So at least I get to paint and enjoy a hot evening, and that's just fine. One detail I'm adding here is because since I've added these since I kept these knee pad sort of things, adding a bit of brown in here just to make it look like there's a strap. So I'm just going to go through here, paint it, and I might need to go darker because it's not really standing out too much. So I may need to go with a darker brown to really make it stand out against the orange. But while I got this, I'm also going to go up here and do some dry brush on the straps to give them a different feel. So either way, I'm going to end up using this brown. But that's what I'm going to do, is add so it looks like there's a strap going on here. Take a little bit of red, and I'm going to add the highlights here to his glove, just as it would be on the original figure. I'm also going to take, and while I've got this red out, I'm going to add just a little dot to his eyes as his pupil, because generally Lion-O has red eyes. So we'll do that to this guy as well. Hopefully it'll be subtle enough. I don't want it to be too much, but we might have to try it a couple of times. So I used a needle on the eyes, which is something I haven't done before, and it turned out pretty good. And now what I'm doing for the last things, I'm taking a little bit of white and the same needle, and I'm putting it on the teeth. The problem is that so little is getting on there that it's actually drying really fast in this heat. So hopefully I can get it. There we go. Just get some on here and have it accent these teeth just enough that it'll work. It looks like it's doing it. I just need to move quick
And it's so small, it's just adding a little highlight. In the magnifying glass, it looks massive, but when I look back, it's not much. So that's not bad. So I shared a photo of this guy on one of my Facebook groups, and the response was not good. Like, people hated it. Like, it was really mean. And obviously, I'm an author. I can take criticism, but it was mean. So I decided, well, since I'm used to criticism, I can go through and maybe fix some things. So I added some of this, so that some of this glaze or whatever, to even out some of the colors here on the armor. And one of the things that's bugged me is his hair is right here. I wanted to add a little bit, so I've cut some out of a cape here, and I'm going to glue it in place so that the hair is kind of a little bit more filled out, and then I'll match it. But as you guys know, I don't customize for other people. I customize for myself, and I show them off because I think that you guys like to see them. But yeah, it sucked. It stung pretty good. But I'm glad, because like I was bugged by his hair right here, and so I'm gonna just play around with a few things. But obviously, how I do things is not for everyone. And for those of you who don't like it, there's plenty of other channels out there for you to be able to go and enjoy. I do things the way that I do them, and I don't apologize for that. So yeah. All right, this might be crazy, but this is our 150th video. And when I was doing the hair, I was like, well, what if, in order to help this look more like fur, I were to cut out really small chunks of this cape and glue them in place, and have it be that's the fur up the leg. I don't know. I'll paint them in place, and we'll see. But I don't know. At this point, you can say part of this is a response to how badly people hated the figure, which normally I don't care about, but I did really think this guy looked cool. And so for me, it's like, well, if I'm going to go all out, then I'm going to go all out. And I like to make big swings. I like to do crazy stuff, which doesn't sit well with everybody, and that's fine. But maybe this will be something that'll end up looking cool. I don't know, but I'm going to try it. I've committed. I've cut a whole bunch of these out, and we will glue them in place. Maybe I'm making it worse. I don't know, but I do like the hair a lot better this way. That was my one complaint. And I do like the new blue, but maybe this is too much. I don't know. I want it to look like he's got fur, and apparently what I tried to do here wasn't really working. So maybe this will, maybe it won't, but I'm committed now. And we do crazy stuff on this channel. This is crazy. Let's see how it turns out. Now that all these are on here, on the legs and on the arms, I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut off the ends like this in order to have it look like, this hair that it's coming up and not just something that's stuck there. And as much as I hate criticism, as everybody else, as much as it stings, I am really glad that I got this criticism, because I wanted this guy to look cool, and I'm thinking that he's looking pretty cool. I thought he looked cool before, but now he is better. He is superior to what he was before, and that makes me happy. So, we can take criticism any way we want, but if we take it from the perspective of, I am going to, use this to improve, then we can do really cool stuff. Now that everything's dry and cut, I'm going to go over with the orange, and we're going to just do a dusting of it, and then we can do whatever textures we feel we need after that, because since these are red, this should have a good base coloring, and we'll just want to add some highlights after that. Oop, one of them came off. I knew that was going to happen, that some of them, I wasn't sure how. Most of them got a lot of glue on them, but some of them didn't. So I knew that a couple of them might come off, but only one so far, so that's not bad. So we'll just go over these, arms and legs, and hopefully it will look more like fur than just bumps. Last thing I think I'm going to do is a yellow wash on the fur, and just to give it a little bit of a highlight, and then we'll call it good. And yeah, this has been a fun experience, very different. Obviously making changes at the last minute that are pretty substantial. But I'm satisfied. If nobody else is, that doesn't matter. I think that's the point I'm trying to make by going through and doing this after receiving some nasty criticism, is to show that I'm doing this, even these changes, I'm not doing it for the criticizers. I could care less. There's probably nothing I could do to make it to the point where they would like it. But I'm doing it for me, because now I'm challenging myself to try something new and to make something that is more extreme and more crazy. And this is pretty extreme and crazy. You know, I don't care who you are, doing what we did to this guy is pretty extreme and crazy. And I am happy with it. And that's all that matters. So when you're making something, it just matters if you're happy with it. And if you're afraid that nobody else is going to like it, well, send me a picture and I will like it, because I enjoy creativity across the board. And I enjoy when people try difficult things, even when they don't work out.
And there we go, the finished product. Again, I'm really glad I went through and I challenged myself to do some new things, because the hair was bothering me. So yeah, like I said, it does suck to get criticism, particularly when it's just like, you suck, you raped my childhood, which is what I was getting. It wasn't like, hey, you can do this to fix it. It was more like, no, just don't ever show your stuff again. That stings. But if you are choosing to challenge yourself and to do something that at the end of the day you like more, then you're in a good spot. And that's what I did here. There's probably nothing I could do to appease people who thought it was crappy before. They probably still think it's crappy now. And I don't care. I don't do it for them. I do it for me. And I hope that you do the same thing. We're all geeks. We're nerds. You know, when I was a kid, I collected comic books when it wasn't popular. I played D&D, and it's like, I am not the cool kid. And if you ever feel like you're not the cool kid still, then come and hang out with me, because we'll be able to have fun together, because I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't like gatekeepers. I don't like people who say that you're not geeky enough because of whatever it is. I collect action figures and I paint them on YouTube. That is about the nerdiest thing ever. And if you like it, then awesome. Join me. Let's have some fun. I'm Stephen Human. I hope you guys enjoyed this 150th video. It ended up being a little bit more thoughtful than I had planned. And I'm glad, because I think that sometimes we need to hear that. Welcome to geekdom. Welcome to just crazy imperfection. I love it. I hope you do too. I'll see you guys soon.